So, Jason Kerr, the dust has settled. You have time to reflect on the 2022 season. How do you think it was for Somerset?
I think ultimately a disappointing summer. There's certainly some highs in there, certainly individually, and one or two team performances. The Blast obviously was probably the most successful of the campaigns, but from a championship point of view in Royal London, nowhere near where we wanted to be.
You mentioned the county championship there. Obviously, it's still the holy grail at the start of every season. That's the one that we really want to win. You look at the stats and the averages and the figures, and Somerset bowlers and batters are right up there near the top, but it didn't quite click on a group level. Can you put your finger on why that was?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, we look to win every competition. I know the Holy Grail, the Championship is the Holy Grail for certainly a lot of people, and without doubt we want to be the first team to win the County Championship here and bring it home. But collectively across the board, we're trying to win all three competitions. But coming back to the Championship, I think you're right, there were some incredible individual performances. But I think if you go back to the start of the summer, we prepped well, we had a great tour in Abu Dhabi and we were ready. And then going into that first block, we played the top teams twice within that period, and we had a few setbacks as well, and certainly not to make any excuses, but going into that first game we had COVID, injuries, so there's dramatic changes in the team, certainly on the morning of the game, and I think that put us on the back foot straight away, and we never really recovered from that. We were chasing our tails from the, we were at the lower end of the table for most of the summer. And then I think when we had the opportunity to reset following the Blast, we played some really good Championship cricket without getting the wins that we probably deserved. We managed to put in some strong performances, and that again held us in good stead and managed to stay in Division 1 at the end.
How do you turn those individual performances into a collective?
It's doing it for longer. You look at some of those performances, there were times when we were up against it within those individual games, and I think you need everyone to step up. It's a team game, so you go back to some outstanding individual performances, and we could stand here and name numerous centurions, lots of fifers, but it's people doing it at the same time. It's a collective. Tom Abel had an outstanding year, but if you look at some of the scorecards, he wasn't supported enough at the right time, so inevitably we got what we deserved and finished 7th in the Championship.
What learnings do you take from this? Obviously, they say you learn in adversity. Obviously, you've mentioned yourself that it was a frustrating year. What are you going to take from this season and implement ahead of 2023 to ensure that Somerset are fighting at the top end of the table?
Yeah, well, I'm a huge believer in that. I think adversity it challenges people. So we've all been under pressure this year, there's no doubt. And we've seen some people stand up, and we've seen some people actually certainly not struggle with that, but it's been an opportunity for growth for others. So I think, what I'm really excited about now, we've had time for the emotions to settle, is that we get an opportunity to reset and really learn from last year. You see already we've strengthened the squad. We see what a difference it makes. We've had an international call-ups during the summer, and when you take players of the calibre of Craig Overton and Jack Leach out the side, it's going to make a difference. So we've created some depth, we've recruited really well, and we'll continue to look at that. But inevitably, I think as a collective, as a group, we've had some really honest conversations, and they will continue. So there'll certainly be some changes in the way we operate behind the scenes looking ahead to next year.
Andy Hurry, touching it there, has worked his magic again. The signings that we've made, Keller Cadmore and Sean Dixon, you've got to be excited that those are two players that you're going to be working with in 2023, not just on the field, but what they'll bring off it as well.
Yeah, both vastly experienced, both got very good records behind them, so we're excited to add them certainly to the squad. And we've got some really good young players that have shown, again, individual performance has been outstanding. But what we've not had enough of is competition for places. We need guys to be knocking down the door and scoring numerous hundreds in second team cricket, so they come in with confidence. And similarly, having that competition and the experience in the first team means that hopefully we can get the volume of runs that we need to compete and get the right results.
You mentioned the experienced players that have signed on the dotted line. We've had 3 or 4 young players as well signing professional contracts for the first time. It's important, isn't it, that you sort of strengthen up both ends of the spectrum?
Massively so. I mean, that is one of the learnings. At one point we had 17 players unavailable during the Royal London, and that created some unbelievable opportunities. If you look at Alfie Ogborn, Jack Harding, there was guys that came in, did a phenomenal job, and they'll get opportunities moving forward. But it also highlighted the depth that you need. If you're going to compete across 3 formats and stay at the top table of domestic cricket, you need that depth. So it was really exciting to see. I know it's incredibly frustrating for the supporters during the Royal London, but to see those guys have that opportunity, George Thomas, James Rue, they demonstrated what they can do during that period and have done over the last couple of years. That is really exciting for the club moving forward.
Let's look at the County Championship one more time. Somerset are going to be at the top table again in 2023. How crucial for the future of the club is it that Somerset avoid relegation?
It is. I think, you know, the bigger picture is we don't know what domestic cricket looks like moving forward. So I think from a club's point of view, you want to be in that, certainly be looking to, I guess the minimum aim is to be in the top 6. If they do make changes moving into 2024, you want to be in that Division 1, because again, you're not sure what the future looks like beyond that. So I think behind the scenes, that'll be certainly one of the aims, but I think from a player's point of view, they just got to concentrate on the process and trying to win the games that are in front of them. So I think the danger is if we look too far ahead, and that in essence could create more pressure. We've got to get back to enjoying our cricket, giving the guys the freedom. We saw last year, actually, it can be an inhibitor, if you like, in the fact you're at the bottom of the table, and there's a lot of conversations about the what ifs. The what ifs we can't control, so it's important we stay in the moment from a player's point of view and concentrate on what's in front of us.
Vitality Blast now, again, another trip to finals day for Somerset supporters, but unfortunately, ultimately, frustration once again coming away from it.
Yeah, I think we played some brilliant cricket. It was through the campaign we got better and better. You know, the quarter final here was one of the obviously best performances we've seen from a Somerset side for a long time. And we just did not fire. Preparation was good. The lads were incredibly relaxed going into it, and I actually felt that, you know, this was our year. But the semi-final, you know, we just didn't turn up at all. It was actually a poor performance compared to the standard that we'd set in the competition so far. So that was incredibly frustrating in the fact that actually we didn't do ourselves justice. You know, I've always said you don't mind losing as long as the team play better than you, and I felt on that day actually we didn't do ourselves justice. So that was incredibly frustrating.
That frustration and disappointment, can you use that and turn that round and use that as a driving force to go on and go those 2 steps further on finals day? When you talk to the likes of Vic Marks and, you know, the year before the glory years, Vic, I think, has said a couple of times that losing in the way they did the previous year was the driver that then pushed forward what became known as the glory years. Is that something you can work with?
Yeah, massively. Certainly from a coaching staff's point of view, but then from the players' point of view, it's an individual responsibility. They've all got their own motivations, and they all need to find that drive within themselves. But you know how much hurts in that dressing room. Certainly at the end of the year, both within the Blast and the Championship. You know, that's not a reflection of the kind of cricket that we want to play. So there's an immense amount of hurt in the dressing room at that time of the year. And not that you want to remind the guys of that. They need to, like I say, find it within themselves to go, actually, that's not a position we want to be in again. We've not been there for a long time. We're used to winning games of cricket. We're used to being in finals, semi-finals. We're used to being at the top of the Championship and competing against the best teams in the country. So there's no doubt I'll be using it as a driver. And as I say, we'll try and do that in a subtle way to take pressure off the guys.
When you look at it, if you look at the Championship and the Blast, finishing in the top division of the Blast, securing top flight status, in the Championship, and getting to finals day in the Blast, there's a lot of counties that would consider that to be success, but we're reflecting on a disappointing season for Somerset. Is that down to the standards that have been set in the last few years?
Yeah, you see it, don't you? The expectations of Somerset now are to win, and that's changed. That's been over a number of years now. A lot of people have put a lot of work into turning Somerset into, you know, one of the best teams in domestic cricket, and the expectations are to be there in the Championship, to be competing for the Championship come September, to get to finals day, and to do well in the Royal London. And we haven't done that this year, and we've sensed it, we feel it as players and staff. There's no doubt, and it's incredibly disappointing. But as I say, I think adversity is a huge vehicle for learning, and if we can get the motivations right, and the guys can find it within themselves to go, actually, right, I don't want to be in that position again. I don't want to experience that and feel that. I want to learn from it. Then you get an opportunity to take things forward and get back to where we feel we belong.
What's the winter got in store for the Somerset players and Jason Kerr? We see a few of the guys are abroad already and tearing it up, which is great to see. How difficult is it to balance that need for them to rest and recuperate and to be out on grass rather than running around an indoor school? What is the perfect balance?
Well, it's changing. I mean, the game's changing. The opportunities that are afforded to players now are vast. So we've got, George Thomas is at the junior PSL. Unbelievable experience for him, coming straight out of a season, going and playing more cricket. He'll then be with the under-19s. James Rew's in Australia already and will join up with the 19s. So it's very bespoke now. We've got guys that will take some well-earned rest and certainly need it. So we'll report back in November as we always do. But it's very individual now. It's very individual in what their needs are and what, I guess, they'll build towards the summer. So we've got a lot of guys that are going to be abroad playing in competitions, all playing league cricket on the other side of the world, and there'll be probably half the squad that are here working. And again, that'll be very individual to what their needs are, making sure that we're as ready as we can be come next year.
And what will constitute a successful season for Somerset in 2023?
Well, look, I think, as I say, we want to be in the top echelons of the game. So to finish in the top 6 will be certainly the priority. But inevitably, we'll set the stall out again. And one of the questions we're going to ask the guys as a group is actually, right, what do we want to achieve? It sounds very easy to go, we want to win. And we want to win 3 competitions, and we're going to set our stall out to do that. I'm going to throw it back on the players in some respects and ask those questions. What are we prepared to do to achieve that? And what do we want to achieve as a group? So, successes, there's lots of different successes. We want people playing international cricket. We want people, inevitably going through the pathway and playing for Young England. And we want to be successful on the park here as well.